This is a Build Back Socialist plan.
In the 2020 Democratic primary, we were told by many that Biden is the better choice over Bernie Sanders, that Biden would be able to work with Republicans to get his agenda passed, and Biden won't be called a socialist. Cue Republican Senator Marco Rubio with a reality check. Here he is commenting on Biden's stripped down, gutted, Build Back Better budget agenda.
This is a Build Back Socialist plan, and it doesn't matter if it's $3.5 trillion or $1.75 trillion. At the end of the day, that's a gimmick because they can just lower the number of years. They can say, well, we're only going to have these socialist programs for 2 years, and that'll lower the cost because their plan is once they get these things in place, it's very hard to repeal them, and they know that. That's what they're banking on. So that's what he's coming up here to pitch and sell. And it's like everything else he does. It's always built around these fake artificial timelines that are for political purposes. We had to get out of Afghanistan by September 11th so he could have a press conference bragging about it. We saw that disaster. And now he has to come up with this plan to borrow and spend at least close to $2 trillion at a minimum, expand our government, codify socialism into the law. But he has to do it before he gets on a plane and flies to Europe, where the Chinese will hypocritically, talk about climate change while they're out there funding coal-fired plants all over the world and are the world's leading polluter. So par for the course.
That's right.
Codify socialism into law. Yes, codify socialism into law with Pell Grants, with means-tested healthcare. Yes, codifying socialism into law. This is why you don't ever compromise when it comes to a primary. You always go as far left as you possibly can, because in all likelihood, you're not going to get anywhere even near that because of the opposition, both from Republicans, but also Democrats, against a true left-wing agenda. So Biden talked about a public option. That was his plan. Where is this public option? It wasn't even discussed to be a part of this budget bill. There was no discussion at all about a public option. But codifying socialism into law. The only remotely maybe socialist program here is universal pre-K. But if you're calling guaranteed education for children socialism, then you should just live somewhere else. I mean, how much worse can it possibly get for Americans? They still have no parental leave. The only country with no parental leave. It's wild to me. As somebody from Canada, my partner is currently on 18 months of maternity leave. 18 months. Americans, 0. But socialism. Yes, I don't. And the other issue with this is they're not going to, the media that sold you on this bullshit is never going to come to terms with the fact that they were wrong. They're never going to bring this back up. They're just going to use the same talking point again because they use it every election. Oh, we can't go too far left. We're going to scare people away, even though the vast majority of Americans agree with Bernie Sanders, agree with the progressive agenda. Every single thing in his agenda, every single economic policy at the very least, had a vast majority of support. But no, that's too far left, even though Bernie is essentially a centrist, looking at public polling and where people are, he's a centrist. But no, too far left, must go with Joe Biden, who will then not be able to get any of his agenda passed. Not even, forget Republicans, can't even get Manchin, his own party on board with his agenda. But this is why you always start these debates from the furthest left position possible. Because if you're forced to negotiate it down, at least you negotiate it down to something that is a little more acceptable. But you saw here, I mean, with this budget bill, what was being pushed by groups like Sunrise Movement was 10 trillion. That's what they wanted to see over I think 10 years. But then it was cut down to 6 trillion in the actual discussions, then cut down again to 3.5. They ran with that for a while, and now it's what, 1.5, 1.7. And it isn't even just about the money. It's about what is being funded. It's about, are these programs universal? Are they means tested? Of course, the vast majority of them in the budget bill are means tested. Again, which also leads to another issue, making it easier for the GOP to roll these provisions back. Meanwhile, if something is universal, it makes it a lot. That's the one thing Rubio got right in that in that segment. When something, though he didn't say it in this way, but when something is universal, it makes it a lot tougher for the GOP to roll it back, because he understands that people actually like these policies. Once people experience, if they are to experience Medicare for all, they will actually like it, and it will be a lot tougher to roll it back. But no, here you have Joe Biden, who is just a neoliberal, being called a socialist, despite the fact that we were told by liberals in the media, told by Democrats in the party, that Bernie's too far left. Joe Biden can work with Republicans. He won't be called a socialist, and he'll get his agenda passed with the GOP. What a load of crap.